everyone line up. Let's make sure everyone is here.
Okay, everyone listen to Mr. Smith, okay?
Barry, Alice, Sophie, Freddie, Jamal, Trudy. Where's Trudy and Tommy?
Mr. Smith, Tommy is not getting up. He won't get up.
Show me. Where is he?
He's over there behind the bushes.
What could have happened to him? He was right here with us.
Tommy. Tommy. Oh, no.
First, I need to check the scene and make sure it's safe.
It's panic. The child is missing and is discovered unresponsive on the ground. What started off as a fun school field trip has turned into an emergency. What would you do first? Hello and welcome to the Child CPR AED portion of the American Heart Association's Heart Saver CPR AED course. This course will help you learn in several ways. Your student workbook covers all the material and includes quick reference guides. And this video will give you facts and show you important skills. If you complete all the course requirements and demonstrate the skills correctly, you'll receive a course completion card. Studies show you need to review this information and practice these skills frequently to maintain your ability to respond to a cardiac arrest. But first, let's head back to the school field trip and see what happens next.
Tommy, are you okay? Are you okay? I need help. Mrs. Thomas, phone 911.
Got it.
He's not breathing.
Excuse me? Excuse me. I know CPR. I can radio security and get an AED here.
Go ahead and get them. I'll start CPR.
Wait, a child down here on the ground in the Nature Center and he's not moving?
Okay, what's your address?
We're at the Nature Center off of Prairie Drive near the snack bar.
This is Richard over by the snack bar. Yeah, we have a child down. We need a first aid kit and an AED.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Okay, thanks.
11,
Everybody back. Ma'am, could you move the students away from the area?
Sure, come on, kids,
Thank
let's go
you.
inside.
19, 20, 21, 22,
Is
23.
he conscious? Is he breathing?
No, but a teacher has started CPR. Here, I'm going to put the phone on speaker mode so he can hear you. His name is Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, can you hear me?
Yes.
Keep doing CPR. Do you have an AED?
Someone is bringing us one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
Attach
13,
pads to
14,
patient's
15,
bare chest.
16, 17, 18, 19.
This is Richard with the Nature Center. I'm attaching the pads now.
5, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30.
Plug in pads connector. Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient.
Everyone stay clear. Don't touch him.
I can do CPR after the AED analyzes rhythm or anytime you need a break.
Okay.
Shock advised. Charging. Stay clear of patient.
Everyone stay clear.
Deliver shock now. Shock delivered. Begin CPR. Start with compressions.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Watch
9,
your rate. You're going
10,
a little too
11,
fast.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
When a child's heart stops, blood stops flowing through the body. But when you push on the chest, you pump blood to the brain and heart. Today you're going to learn the skills you just saw, and we'll give you a chance to practice a complete sequence of child CPR AED. Now let's look at these terms more closely. CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It's made up of two skills, providing compressions and giving breaths. A compression is the act of pushing on the chest during CPR. AED stands for automated external defibrillator. It's a machine with a computer in it that can detect an abnormal cardiac rhythm that requires treatment with a shock. An AED can deliver a shock to eliminate the abnormal rhythm. This allows the heart to resume a normal rhythm. And for the purposes of this course, a child is anyone who is 1 year of age to puberty. If you're unsure of a child's age, treat him as an adult. It's important to know that when you provide CPR, you are taking part in the American Heart Association's pediatric chain of survival. This chain of survival shows the most important actions you can take if there is a cardiac arrest involving a child. The first link in the pediatric chain is prevention, followed by early CPR and early access to emergency responders and hospital providers who can give advanced support and post-cardiac arrest care. If a child is unresponsive and isn't breathing or is only gasping, you need to provide CPR. If you're not sure, go ahead and start CPR. It's better to provide CPR to a child who doesn't need it than to not provide it to a child who does. But when an emergency occurs, there are steps to follow in determining whether or not a child needs CPR. Before you assess the need for CPR, you need to make sure the scene is safe. You can't help if you also get hurt. Next, you need to check to see if the child is responsive. Kneel at his side, tap him, and shout loudly, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Tommy, are you okay? Are you okay?
Watch this demonstration. While leaning over the child who is down, firmly tap the child twice and shout, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" A child who is responsive moves, speaks, blinks, or otherwise reacts when you tap him and ask if he's okay. If the child does not move, speak, blink, or otherwise react, then he is unresponsive. You should then shout for help and ask someone to phone 911 and get an AED. In an emergency, the sooner you realize that there is a problem and get help, the better it is for the ill or injured child. Child care centers, schools, and other workplaces should have a plan that includes when, how, and whom to call for help. If the child is unresponsive and not breathing or only gasping, provide 5 sets of 30 compressions and 2 breaths. Have someone else phone 911 and get an AED. If you're alone and have a cell phone, phone 911 and put the phone on speaker mode while you begin CPR. After 5 sets of 30 compressions and 2 breaths, if no one has come to help and you do not have a cell phone, leave to phone 911 and get an AED. Let's listen as Mrs. Thomas talks to the 911 dispatcher.
911, what's your emergency?
Yes, we have a child down on the ground here at the nature center, and he's not moving.
Okay,
Stay on the phone until the 911 dispatcher tells you to hang up. Answering the dispatcher's questions will not delay the arrival of help. The dispatcher will ask you about the emergency, where you are, and what has happened. In general, dispatchers can provide instructions that will help you. The dispatcher may also tell you how to help the child until someone with more advanced training arrives and takes over. If you can, take the phone with you and put it on speaker mode so that you are beside the child while you talk to the dispatcher. The dispatcher may be able to tell you how to do CPR, use an AED, or give first aid. When the child is unresponsive, you need to check his breathing by scanning from head to waist repeatedly for at least 5 seconds, but no more than 10 seconds. If the child is unresponsive and either isn't breathing or is only gasping, provide CPR. If you are alone and no one has phoned 911, after 5 sets of 30 compressions and 2 breaths, leave the child to phone 911 and get an AED. It all happens quickly, but this is important. When the child is unresponsive, scan the chest for 5 to 10 seconds, checking for breathing. If the child is not breathing or is only gasping, he needs CPR. Let's look at this footage of an adult gasping. It would be similar in a child. If a child is gasping, it usually looks like he is drawing air in very quickly. He may open his mouth and move his jaw, head, or neck. Agonal gasps are frequently present in the first minutes after sudden cardiac arrest. These gasps may appear forceful or weak, and some time may pass between gasps because they usually happen at a slow rate. The gasp may sound like a snort, snore, or groan. Gasping is not regular or normal breathing. It's a sign of cardiac arrest in someone who is unresponsive. Because children usually have healthy hearts and breathing trouble is often the cause of a child needing CPR, it's important to give breaths to a child quickly if he needs CPR. Therefore, recognizing both cardiac arrest and the need for CPR quickly is important. Let's watch the steps all together in assessing whether or not a child needs CPR. First, check to make sure the scene is safe, and make sure the child is lying on his back on a firm, flat surface. Tap and shout to see if the child is responsive. Are you okay? Are you okay? If he is unresponsive, then shout for help. Help! Help! I need help! If someone comes, have that person phone 911 and get an AED. Then scan the chest for 5 to 10 seconds, checking for breathing. If the child is not breathing or is only gasping, he needs CPR. Move the clothes out of the way to bare the chest and begin chest compressions. After 5 sets of 30 compressions and 2 breaths, If no one has come to help and you do not have a cell phone, leave to phone 911 and get an AED. The video will now pause while you get in position to practice scene safety and assessment. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. First, check to make sure the scene is safe, and make sure the child is lying on his back on a firm, flat surface. Tap and shout to see if the child is responsive. If he is unresponsive, then shout for help. Are you okay? Are you okay? Help! Help! I need help! If someone comes, have that person phone 911 and get an AED. You phone 911 and get an AED. Then scan the chest for 5 to 10 seconds, checking for breathing. If the child is not breathing or is only gasping, he needs CPR. Move the clothes out of the way to bare the chest and begin chest compressions. You've learned how to assess the need for CPR and phone 911. Now let's focus on compressions and how they should be done. It's no different than with adults. CPR for a child, pushing hard and fast on the chest, is the most important skill you'll learn. To provide high-quality CPR, you do 4 things. Provide compressions that are deep enough, provide compressions that are fast enough, allow the chest to return to its normal position after each compression, and don't interrupt compressions for more than 10 seconds. Chest compression is the act of pushing on the chest. When you push on the chest, you pump blood to the brain and heart. When providing compressions on a child, use one hand for compressions. If you can't push down about 2 inches with one hand, use 2 hands to compress the chest. Sometimes people don't push hard enough during child CPR because they don't want to hurt the child. However, it's better to push too hard than not hard enough. Let's watch this demonstration and then you'll get to practice. Make sure that the child is lying face up on a firm, flat surface. Position yourself at the child's side. Move the clothes out of the way to bare the chest. Use one hand for compressions. If you can't push down about 2 inches with one hand, use 2 hands to compress the chest. Put the heel of one hand on the lower half of the breastbone. If you are using 2 hands, put the heel of your other hand on top of your first hand. After each compression, let the chest come back up to its normal position. Compress the chest 30 times at a rate of 100 to 120 compressions per minute. The video will pause for you to get in position to practice chest compressions on a child. The mannequin should be lying face up on a firm, flat surface, and you should be kneeling next to the mannequin's chest. When I tell you, keep time with the beat, pushing straight down on the child's chest. Remember to push hard and fast at a rate of 100 to 120 compressions per minute. After each compression, let the chest come back up to its normal position. Now move the clothes out of the way to bare the chest. Put the heel of one hand on the lower half of the breastbone. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Push hard and fast. As you keep time with the beat, you are pushing at a rate of 100 to 120 compressions per minute. Okay, try again. Now that you've practiced chest compressions, it's time to add the next important skill of providing high-quality CPR, breaths. Children often have healthy hearts, but even a child's heart can stop beating if he can't breathe or has trouble breathing. So it's very important to give breaths as well as compressions to a child who needs CPR. Opening the airway correctly will help keep a child's tongue out of the way. So let's look at the steps for opening the airway and giving breaths to a child. We'll show you how first, and then you'll get a chance to practice. Put one hand on the forehead and the fingers of your other hand on the bony part of the chin. While pushing with your palm to tilt the head back, lift the jaw to bring the chin forward. This simple action lifts the tongue from the back of the throat, opening the airway. It's important to avoid pressing into the soft part of the neck or under the chin because this might block the airway. While holding the airway open, pinch the nose closed with your thumb and forefinger. Take a normal breath. Cover the child's mouth with your mouth. Give 2 breaths. Blow for 1 second for each. As you give each breath, you should look down at the child's chest to see it rise. For small children, you will not need to blow as much as for larger children. Actually, seeing the chest begin to rise is the best way to know that your breaths are effective. If you give a breath and the chest doesn't rise, quickly reopen the airway by allowing the head to go back to the normal position, and then tilt the head back and lift the chin to open the airway again. Give another breath, and make sure the chest rises this time. Remember that you want to give 2 breaths in less than 10 seconds, so you are minimizing interruptions in the compressions. If the chest doesn't rise, begin pushing hard and fast on the chest again. The video will now pause while you get in position to practice giving breaths. Now it's time to practice opening the airway and giving breaths to a child mannequin. You'll try 3 sets of 2 breaths, and you'll start and end each time with your hand on the mannequin's chest. The first set will go a little slower, but the second 2 should be normal speed. You should be in position to practice, so get ready. 3, 2, 1. Starting with one hand on the mannequin's chest, move to open the airway. Put one hand on the forehead and the fingers of your other hand on the bony part of the chin. Tilt the head back and lift the chin. Hold the airway open, pinch the nose closed, and take a normal breath. Cover the child's mouth with your mouth. Give a breath for 1 second. Give a second breath, blowing for 1 second. Again, watch for the chest to rise. Go back to the compressions position. Okay, try again. A little faster this time. Open the airway and pinch the nose. Give a breath. Give a breath. Go back to the compressions position. Okay, try again. Open the airway and pinch the nose. Give a breath. Give a breath. Remember, actually seeing the chest begin to rise is the best way to know that your breaths are effective. You may give breaths with or without a mask. If you're in the workplace, your employer may provide personal protective equipment, including pocket masks for use during CPR. Masks are made of firm plastic and fit over the child's mouth and nose. There are many different kinds of masks and face shields, and there are different sizes for adults, children, and infants, so make sure you're using the right size. You may need to put a mask together before you use it, but this is usually as simple as popping it into shape and attaching the one-way valve that goes with the mask. That's the part you breathe into. Your instructor may also discuss other types of devices that can be used when giving breaths. So let's take a look at how to give breaths with a mask. We're going to show you a demonstration on how to place the mask and give breaths. Afterward, we'll give you a chance to practice giving breaths with a mask. Start out kneeling next to the mannequin with your hands on the chest. Put the mask over the mannequin's mouth and nose. If the mask has a narrow or pointed end, put the narrow part of the mask on the bridge of the nose. The wide part of the mask should cover the mannequin's mouth. Tilt the head and lift the chin while pressing the mask against the mannequin's face. It's important to make a good seal between the mannequin's face and the mask while you lift the chin to keep the airway open. Now that you've got the mask positioned, give 2 breaths while watching for the chest to rise. As you give each breath, you should look down at the mannequin's chest to see it rise. Actually seeing the chest begin to rise is the best way to know that your breaths are effective. After giving 2 breaths, go back to the position to give compressions. Now we're going to practice using a mask to give breaths to a child. The video will pause so you can put your masks together and get into place. And by the way, keep the one-way valve you were given. You'll try 3 sets of 2 breaths like before, and you'll start and end each time with your hands on the mannequin's chest. So get ready. 3, 2, 1. Put the mask over the mannequin's mouth and nose. Tilt the head and lift the chin while pressing the mask against the mannequin's face. Now that you've got the mask positioned, give 2 breaths while watching for the chest to rise. After giving 2 breaths, go back to the position to give compressions. Let's try once again, but at regular speed. Place the mask and open the airway. Give a breath. Give a breath. Place your hands back on the chest. Let's try one last time. Place the mask and open the airway. Give a breath. Give a breath. Place your hands back on the chest.